Left. Would you mind sharing your thoughts a little bit about the coming midterm elections, maybe best case scenario and worst case scenario, and what we can do as conservatives?
Well, the worst case scenario would be that some of these liberal prognoses are right about the Senate, that they could take the Senate. And that would mean they'd have to win races like the Cruz race or something. If that would happen, they would impeach him in the House, and then we would have an acrimonious impeachment in the Senate with a lot of pressure on moderate, Ben Sass-like Republicans to join what would be a majority already to get 60 votes. And that would pretty much stall or destroy the Trump agenda. That would be the worst case scenario. I don't think they would impeach him, but it would be long and drawn out, much more than the Clinton impeachment. The best case scenario is that we usually lose, I think it's 27 seats in a midterm election the first year, that Trump somehow would buck historical trends and he'd lose 4 or 5 seats in the House. He'd retain the House, he'd retain the Senate, and that would be seen as a devastating setback to this, what we saw at the Kavanaugh hearing or the anonymous op-ed or the Woodward book, that whole cycle of delegitimizing the president. So which is which? It just depends on 2 things, and I don't have the answer to it. Nobody seems to, and that is how in a midterm election, how mobilized are the Trump base? In other words, when they see the Kavanaugh hearings, or they read about the New York Times, or they say, that's terrible, but it's a midterm, or they say, that's so terrible, I'm going to go out and vote for my candidate. And then we don't know the effect of all these things on the independent so-called voter. We found out in 2016 that, just think for a minute, in 2016, the night of the election, the New York Times published 3 polls, and they said, there's 1% chance that Trump can win, there's 9% chance, and there's 16%. And we're not even going to mention Nate Silver. He's so pessimistic. He's giving Trump 27% chance of winning. That's where we were. So we're hearing this, it's kind of eerie, we're hearing the same thing about the midterm. Blue wave, Trump is, people get sick of him, but we don't know whether that same phenomenon is there. It seems to me that when I see people and they're for Trump, they don't want to talk about it. When they're not for Trump, they yell about it because they understand the social consequences of each. And if that is still true, then I think he's being underreported by 2 or 3%, and the people who support him are. But we're going to have to wait to the midterm.